Oh hey look, the game almost crashed! And my spleen just ruptured.
Oh, waxy!
Crash Bandicoot.
Gaming's favorite orange marsupial. Probably because he's the only one. I think. Okay, well I guess Ty's a marsupial. Don't worry, Crash. You have nothing to worry about. No one likes Ty. Crash's game lineup has not been the most stable in gaming, but no matter how many missteps he has, people will always be there cheering him on. I think that's when you know a character is great, when no matter how many times he changes companies and screws up, people still love the guy.
About a year ago, I covered the game Crash of the Titans, which completely changed the Crash formula, much to the dismay of fans. I'll put a link to that video in the description, but to summarize my thoughts, I liked the game. Yeah, it had some pretty bad difficulty spikes, but it was fun, it was funny, so overall I thought it was a great game. Now at the end of that video, I mentioned this.
This game would later get a direct sequel in the form of Crash Mind Over Mutant, but that's a game for another review.
So since it's been almost a year since that video, and because the amazing looking Crash and Sane Trilogy is coming out soon, why not look at the latest game in the Crash timeline?
Crash Mind Over Mutant was released on October 7th, 2008 in North America, October 29th in Australia, and October 31st in Europe, once again no love for Japan, for PS2, Wii, Xbox 360, DS, and PSP. Once again developed by Radical Entertainment, this was the first and currently only main series Crash game published under the Activision banner after Vivendi Universal merged Radical and Sierra into Activision. And then later Activision decided to divorce Vivendi, taking Radical, Sierra, and Crash with them, to which Vivendi started trying to date a company half their age. The game got mediocre reception, and fans rarely mention the game, though when they do it's negative, so that's obviously a good sign. Since this game's release, there have been a handful of mobile Crash games. Crash appeared in Skylanders Imaginators, and we're getting Crash 1 through 3 remade from the ground up for PS4, but this is so far the last game in the Crash timeline. It makes me curious what this game did to effectively kill the series for almost a decade.
Though I suppose that's my job to find out. Honestly, I don't have high hope for this game. I mean, I really enjoy Titans, so I want to enjoy this game. I don't know, there's just something telling me I'm not going to. And since I didn't swear once during my Titans review, I'm gonna continue that tradition here. Should be easy as fuck. Damn it. Also, the soundtrack to this game was composed by the same guy who composed Titans, and I still haven't figured out if that soundtrack is copyrighted, so like I did with the last one, I'm gonna add in other music instead of the soundtrack. But honestly, you're not missing much this time.
Real quick before we jump into the game, I have to mention that Tiny Tiger does not appear in this game. Thank Jeebus! Oh yeah, and also there's more redesigns or whatever. I don't know why they decided to redesign a few of the characters again, but they did it and now I have to talk about it. Embryo returns in this game, and he actually just looks like an updated version of his original design, and it looks really good. Crash and Coco's design to me look too human. I know Tanya from the first game looked very humanoid too, but she was designed that way while Crash and Coco were designed to be slightly humanoid but still very much like animals. Here though, it looks like they're trying to make them look more human than animal, and it just looks weird. And I swear to God they tried to make Coco sexy. Stop trying to make Bandicoots sexy. It's not working. It will never work. Also, Crunch looks like he's gonna violate me.
You like popsicles?
So we finally get into the game, and I know the first thing you noticed, I noticed it too, the cutscene. No, not every cutscene is presented as a puppet show. Instead, all of the cutscenes in the game are presented in different art styles. On paper, that may have sounded good, but in execution, it just looks unfocused. Half of the art styles look ugly and are bland, and it probably cost them a lot more money to do this than it would have if they had just done in-game cinematics. It appears that the plot of the game takes place shortly after Titans ended, as the Bandicoots still have Cortex's Doominator in their yard. Yard-type area. In the jungle. Forest. Wherever the fuck these games are set. Coco sends Crash to get some parts so she could turn the Doominator into a TV, so we're plopped into the gameplay. Right off the bat, I recognize this area, but everything just feels off. Crash doesn't control as well as before, the whole HUD looks barren and generic, and the landscape just looks lifeless. Unlike Titans, this game isn't split into episodes. Instead, you have missions that you go to, kind of like an open world. Kind of. More on that later. Crash controls basically identically to how he did in Titans, just stiffer. His jumps feel so weak, and the double jump never feels like it helps, even when it does. And they got rid of his hover move, replacing it with a downwards attack, which is just stupid. But hey, at least you don't have to unlock the spin move, I guess. You're also able to wall jump and dig underground, abilities that are awkward and only used when the game demands you to use them. They feel extremely unnecessary. Once we get all of the parts, Coco turns the Doominator Eye into a TV and the two Bandicoots, Plus this mistake. Watch an ad from Cortex and Embryo advertising their new device called the NV, claiming it to be an amazing multimedia device. So the three order some, yet for some reason Crash can't use it. Like, I know Crash is the protagonist, obviously. You can't have something happen to him that makes him unplayable for the rest of the game. But even so, you've got to explain why the plot device doesn't work for the protagonist, even in a cartoony game. Oh yeah, an Embryo in this game is voiced by Maurice LaMarche, aka Brain from Animaniacs, so you can bash these two games all you want, but you have to admit that they got some pretty fucking awesome people to voice the villains.
I invented the Evolvo Ray and mutagenetic techniques still used by that treacherous Cortex today. I was in the first game!
Engine appears somehow, except I think it's a hologram or transmission, except his minions are real. I don't know, this cutscene never makes it clear if we're seeing through the NVs or if it's the real world with some weird digital-ish art style. And now for the Titans. Or Mutants, as they're referred to in this game. Back in Crash of the Titans, while it was a silly game, when the Titans first appeared, you knew they were serious business. First, you catch a glimpse of one, and it terrifies Crash and Aku Aku, and then when you actually get to it, this may have been a cartoony game, but you knew from the first moment they appeared that the Titans meant business. Let's see how they handle it here. Oh, sure. Just spawn one out of frickin' nowhere, why don't ya? Okay, to be fair, that was just setting up some tutorials. Here's the real first Titan encounter. Mutant encounter, whatever. Oh, that was lame even by Crash standards. So the first Titan, Mutant... Okay, screw it. From now on, I'm just calling them Mutitants. So the first Mutitan is the chilly douchebag who returns from Titans. I'm not going to go over the returning Mutitans apart from a few exceptions because, well, yes, they have new moves, they are practically unchanged. Once we actually hijack the thing, you'll notice that Aku Aku is just absorbed by it instead of stretching over it, which is an odd change, and you'll notice a few changes to how you play as the Mutitant. You can now jump with them, allowing you to take your mutated monstrosity pal along your way, and you are able to pocket most of the Mutitans, meaning you store it away and can pull it out whenever you need it and put it away when you don't. Now again, on paper that may have seemed like a good idea, but in execution it just dulls down these creatures. Titans had you feel that these were powerful behemoths that made you feel good to hijack. Here they feel so much less impressive if you're able to take them everywhere, and you can actually hold not one, but two Mutitants with you, meaning there will rarely be a moment where you do not have one, and so the presence of these things is lost entirely. We make it to Engine, kill some minions, and then learn that the NVs have actually mutated Crunch and Coco, meaning we have to save them. After a stupidly easy fight with Coco, we set off to find Nina, who after Titans was sent to an evil public school, or as most people know it, public school. We start running there past some violently bland backgrounds and doing some awkward platforming. I should mention here that you can now upgrade the Mutitants with Mojo as you would Crash, except that any Mojo collected goes towards upgrading that Mutitan and not to Crash or to all of the creatures as a whole, so leveling up is now extremely tedious. Along the way to Nina, we meet a new Mutitant called the TK, which is this bird fetus in gelatin that allows you to use telepathy to pull and throw stuff. Gameplay-wise, it's mostly just awkward to play as, but design-wise, whoever created this thing had to have been high. So it turns out that we can't get to Nina yet because we have to go through a prison, but to do that we need to get a Rhino Roller to be able to open the gate, so we run all the way back to Wampa Island and then into the desert to find one, where it turns out that while on the Rhino Roller in this game, you are always in rolling mode, making the thing a nightmare to control. Then we go all the way back to the chilly douchebag homelands and are finally able to get into the school.
Here at Evil Public School 101, you'll learn the basic evil principles that drive society. Like mad science, mad mathematics, gym class, and waterboarding. Hey, look, everyone, a new student.
No, we're not moving on yet. I want to go back to the part where kids are taught one of the most brutal modern methods of torture, and now it's apparently canon to the official Crash timeline. I need a minute. I'm not over that, but we need to move on.
Oh, hey, look, a swirly. Better spin. We finally get to Nina where she wants Crash and Aku Aku to kiss and also for them to help her protect her science project for her to help them. So we do, and while doing so, I reaffirm my hatred of science fairs. After that, we now have to run back to the damn desert where we go to a junkyard where you have to do more running and shitty platforming until you get to Embryo and Crunch and enter another easy boss battle where Crunch will not shut up!
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. Now it's so bad, you can see us on the Richter scale. Time to be bad. In a good way. Form of a monkey pounding machine. That's the good stuff.
And then we head up to Mount Grimly to find Uka Uka and meet the Grimly, another new Mutitan, who is my favorite because of how funny it looks when he punches, and run into the familiar Battlers and Yuctopus. Crap, do I go for another Razor joke or do I bring Yaxoptobot pipes back? Fuck it. Oh hey look, this cutscene is trying to imitate the South Park Canada style. When an art style is purposefully trying to look kinda sucky and you're doing it worse, I think it's time to reevaluate your life choices. We free Uka Uka, who says we have to retrieve his voodoo bone so he can teleport us to Cortex's lair.
I will use my power to let you move around quickly. You dummies probably walked everywhere.
Oh, are you trying to lampshade the game's lack of a fast travel system? It ain't working! My legs are sore! The next few missions consist of backtracking to previous locations to defeat these Mutitan heroes and get Uka Uka's bones back. The heroes are simply recolored, stronger versions of some normal Mutitans, and oddly enough, they're only recolored in the PS2 version, but in the 360 version they're given costumes. Weird. Once that's done, Uka Uka teleports us to Cortex's space base where we run around pressing some buttons before we get to the Cortex fight, which before that we learn that the Crash universe apparently takes place on Earth because fucking Paris! And Cortex is a pushover. Guess he never learned to get harder after Crash 2. The final cutscene plays with Cortex escaping and the space base crashing on Wumpa Island, and afterwards, the credits don't roll. You have to start them manually. What can you do after beating the game? Well, you could fully upgrade Crash and the Mutitans, which is tedious, and, there's some side quests, I think. Also, there are totems to collect. See, since the game isn't split into chapters, there's no end of chapter result screen, meaning there's also no spy bots to destroy and you don't get a minion master bonus. Yet for some reason the combo counter is still here for seemingly no reason.
So, that was Crash Mind Over Mutant. Don't play this game.
Now yes, the game does have some positives, such as the great voice actors they got for the villains. John DiMaggio is still Uka Uka, Lex Lang is still Cortex, and Maurice LaMarche is an awesome choice for Embryo. But even then, the problem is they aren't funny. Well, the voice actors themselves are great. It's just that the script doesn't give them anything funny to say. The game tries so hard to be funny and very rarely do any of the jokes succeed. I can only think of 2 jokes I thought were remotely close to the comedy from past games. This?
Start talking, mister. Crash likes Crunch, and look what he's doing to him.
And this.
Stealing my mojo to power your envies. That's low even for you. But why do you keep feeding me cake?
Oh, that. I just thought it would be mean. Seriously, you're never going to be able to eat cake again. Imagine that. Life without cake.
You fiend!
But most of the jokes weren't funny, tried to be a running gag, and failed, like Embryo stating he invented everything.
I invented the Evolvo Ray and mutagenetic techniques.
Greetings, little peons, which I invented. Heroes of this world, which I invented. Me, not Cortex. Read your Bible, I wrote it. This isn't the end. I invented endings.
Or was Crunch babbling like an idiot?
Can't talk? Watching monkeys. Look at the monkey. Oh, right in his own mouth. Yeah, think I'm licking brain juice. Gonna lay down a while. Sleepy. That does sound good. Butter. And where'd I get this? Short-term memory loss. Confused. And where'd I get this?
Or hey, perhaps you would like some incredibly out-of-place dark humor? See, dark humor and adult humor in kids' media isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be funny, but only if it's subtle, something that can fly over kids' head and still possibly be funny to them while the older people watching can get it. In Mom, it sticks out like an embarrassing erection. I already brought up the waterboarding thing, but give this line a listen.
I'll drown in your blood. Wait, I'll swim in your blood without drowning.
Yeah, that's a pleasant image to put into your child's mind. A minion stained in the blood of a beloved platforming mascot. But the lack of good comedy is not the only problem. The gameplay is also a huge issue. Like I said, it's stiff, which will lead to awkward platforming and lots of deaths. Not like death even matters anyway. They got rid of lives, so now when you die, you just restart only like 10 seconds away from where you died, so you're basically invincible. There's also pointless game mechanics such as wall jumping, digging, and climbing. Oh, did I mention the climbing? Good God, the climbing! And oh, sweet Jeebus, there is far too much running around in this game. You'll be running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth between the same few locations for a good chunk of your playthrough. It took me about 5 hours to beat the game, and I swear at least half of that time was just running between locations. That's probably why there isn't a fast travel system, because they realized if there was one, the game would only be like 2 hours long. Also, the sounds are broken. Like, they just don't trigger at points. Seriously. Everything they added to this game was pointless. Any additions that seemed interesting instead ruined the flow of the game, and all the changes such as the redesigns just seem to be changes for the sake of changes. For example, the free Jack mask is now a shoe. But there are so many issues with this game, and I've barely touched the surface. It's not that the game is completely atrocious or anything, but it's clunky, dull, boring, and just plain soulless. You can argue all you want about the quality of the past games, but at the very least you could say they had a sense of character. This game just feels like it was made to make money off of the Crash name. I'm not going to act like Crash of the Titans is a flawless gaming masterpiece, but at least that game was fun. It did change the formula a ton, but at least it seemed like the developers gave a damn about making it. This is a watered down version of that game, the knockoff cereal brand to Crash of the Titans, which is already bad to the people like me who actually liked it, but it's probably a horrible thing to hear to the people who didn't even like that game. There's more I want to say about this game, but I think at this point I'm going to start rambling more than I currently am, so I'm just going to move on.
After beating this game, I can see why the Crash series effectively died for so long. It's not the worst game ever, but it's just so flawed and soulless, and when people are already put off by the last game, and when the follow-up is even bad to the people who liked it, no wonder people didn't want to buy it. Here's hoping that as we move on into the future, we stop getting games like this. I mean, Crash and Skylanders was a ton of fun, and the Sane Trilogy looks awesome, so Crash's future does look bright. But only time will tell. Good night, peoples and non-peoples of the internet. I'm Ghost Island. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to stay fabulous. Roll the outro! Oh, well, that's just disgusting.